Well, good morning or good afternoon to some. I hope everybody's doing well. We just got word that Joe Biden is the next president elect, and I wanted to just say my piece in it because I'm getting calls and feedback and text messages and all kind of stuff. And this is crazy. I don't think that this is a win for anybody. I think it's a time to pray. Let me just preference what I'm going to say today by making this statement. I am a Democrat at heart, and I'm gonna go public because a lot of preachers out there they won't say what they really are. They preachers are cloaking, they hiding, and all kind of stuff. And I'm gonna explain my position. I'm a Democrat at heart because I believe that Democrats care for people more than Republicans. Okay, I'm not talking, this is not religious, this is not spiritual. I'm just talking about as it relates to the values of the Democratic Party versus the Republican Party. This is not carte blanche across the board. I am speaking speculative, generally saying that Democrats, they have a bigger heart. And I think a lot of that has to do with most Democrats are always from the margins. They always need some type of help, and I take some issue with that. I am a Republican at head, so I have a Democratic heart, but I'm a Republican at the head. And what do I mean by that? I mean that I don't believe in giving handouts. I believe if you're gonna eat, you're gonna work. I believe that God gave you the wherewithal to be creative. And I also believe in a capitalist society. I don't believe that how hard I work, that it should be divvied up to people that don't want to work. So from a Republican standpoint, that's kind of where I stand with that. So there is some division with this whole election, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all turns out. I'm looking at the news channels and I'm seeing rallies and people celebrating in the street. I don't think it's a time to celebrate. So I'm going to start off by just talking about a few points that I wrote down, and by no way will I exhaust what's in my heart. There's a lot of depth in what I can say, but I don't have time to get into a whole lot of it. So I'll just say a little bit. So I'm not taking sides. That's number one. I'm not taking a Republican side or a Democratic side. By no means, no stretch of the imagination. Point number two, a haughty spirit just before a fall. A haughty spirit just before a fall. Now, I know a lot of people, especially the prophetic voices that was out there, the preachers that was following the prophetic voices, and rightfully so. They were a lot of reliable, and they still are. And I'm not going to say that this is cash money. We can take it to the bank that President-elect Joe Biden is actually going to enter into office, because I don't know what God is going to do. And I'm not advocating or renouncing either one of them. But I will say that a lot of preachers out there, they got on the bandwagon of Trump, and they followed the wide road, as it were, as it relates to the Christendom and the evangelicals and that type of thing, without really doing their own homework, without speaking biblically with an understanding and balance, an understanding and balance, because I'm gonna get to these issues here in just a few seconds, because a lot of times we can speak without knowledge. And I guess goes back to some of the messages that I've been talking about, is that my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Now, I appreciate this whole Cyrus argument and what how God set up Cyrus, and Cyrus was not a believer and he was a heathen and all this, and God used him anyway. And I know a lot of the prophetic voice out there and preachers and Christendom is riding that wave right now. But I also understand that along with that, number one, dispensationally the Bible speaks, and futuristically the Bible speaks. So we had where Cyrus delivered the children of Israel from Babylon. We get that part. That already happened. But now we're talking about this Palestinian deal with taking the bonds, as it were, off of Israel, and Trump being a figurehead or a type of Cyrus to help do that, and Israel being a type of the Israel that we see now being a type of the Israel back then that was oppressed by the Babylonians, or we could look at this issue that's going on in the Palestinian nation. So Donald Trump, though, if God was using him, and I believe he was using him, but the issue with Donald Trump was he got haughty. And the scripture says that there's haughtiness God don't like. A proud look God don't like. There was something about Trump that you couldn't get control of. And at a certain point, Trump, I believe that he started to think that he was God. Did he have an opportunity to win this? He did have an opportunity to win it, but he blew it. He stepped on his own toes. He killed himself because he got beside himself with haughtiness. Now, this is the part where I take issue with the preachers in the country and that got behind this whole Republican thing. And I'm not Republican or Democrat. I'm not advocating for either or. I'm not denouncing either or. But what I'm saying is y'all didn't talk about the balance of it. I didn't hear, and I ain't saying that I know everything or I heard everything, but at no time did I hear where the prophetic voice or the preachers that was directing the church into what direction to go in, the evangelicals and all that. Not at no point did I really hear them come in and pull the reins on Trump to bring him into balance. To say, hey, listen, dude, God may be using you or God is using you, but God will take you down because of your behavior. I didn't hear not one time where they was balance, where the preachers would get up and they would talk about, they would say how God was using him, but they wouldn't say that, but Trump is wrong. And these issues, the character of Trump is wrong. His integrity is wrong. I never saw nobody come out and bring the balance in to talk about how dirty he was. Even if in the case of Cyrus that God was going to use him, but you still got to talk about the totality of everything. So it ain't just that God gonna use him, because see, God is a God of balance, and God don't like ugly, and he ain't too fond of cute. But see, when you just ride on the scripture without fully understanding the revelation of the scripture, you might miss something. Hence might be what we are seeing today. I don't know, because a lot of folks I'm hearing that, God changed his mind and all that. Hey, look, it's not here nor there. I don't know what God is doing. I do know what I felt in my spirit. I supported Trump on certain issues, and I supported Biden on certain issues, but there was a mixed bag, and I took issue with both sides. But where I take issue with the church and with the preachers and the pastors and the prophetic voice out there is that you did not. You lifted up Trump as if he was a saint, and Trump ain't never been no saint. If you would have lifted him up as a Cyrus, a dirty bird at heart that God was using, and said, listen, point a finger at him and say, you need to get yourself together, because just like God can elevate you, God can bring you down. You did not do that, and I take issue with you on that. So as it relates, the next point is issues versus relationship. There were some issues, and I'm going to say on the Republican side, the concerns was abortion, socialism, and inclusion. And that was what they wrote on. That wasn't all they wrote on, but that was some of what they wrote on. And I agree. I think that abortion is an important issue, but it's not the only issue. And it's not the issue that you should determine a vote on. It's just abortion. Socialism, I think socialism needs to be defined, because you just can't say socialism carte blanche based on what socialism looked in from another country, which is what a lot of the Latin votes and stuff like that went upon. It was how they was treated from their understanding, their perspective of socialism. And this issue with inclusion. Yeah, you know, it sounded like Biden was all inclusive. Kamala Harris was all inclusive. It sounded like we got some inclusion from that, socialism from that. All these things go against the grain of Christendom. And I'm flowing with you. I'm right there with you, because I think that those are big things. Those are big. Those are big. However, people make mistakes. You know, when you talk about abortion, when I was a teenager, I supported abortion. And to this day, it haunts me. And I pray for forgiveness, and I believe God has forgiven me for it. But the reason why I'm sharing that is because all of us have done something that relates to a certain issue. But you can't take an issue and make it the mountain. You can't take that and say this is the end all deal. It's the deal breaker on this one issue. And I think the Republican Party too often takes one thing and they ride the wave on it. And you got to bring about balance. So, but those concerns are legitimate concerns. The Democratic concerns was racism. Man, black men, it was, as the old folks would say, scarce. It was something else, because it looked as if Trump or the Republican Party or the evangelicals, they kept their mouth shut. Racism, Black Lives Matter, however you want to categorize that and define it. Yeah, you had two women that started Black Lives Matter, and it came from a very socialist view, almost maybe even communistic view. I get all that. I get that, but at the end of the day, the sum total is Black Lives Matter. And I'm not sure what they meant by Black Lives Matter, but I know what I mean by Black Lives Matter. I mean that my life matters like anybody else's life matter. And at the end of the day, all lives matter. But it just seems to be the polarization of the racism that was going on. It seems to be that the Republican Party closed their eyes to it, took a deaf ear to it, and the evangelical church as well. And even a whole lot of black folks, and I'm talking about in Christendom and all, they were silent. And it could have been your little boy or your son or your daughter that was shot and killed or had a foot on his neck. Those are troubling issues for me. And then you say, vote for this person or vote for that person. And so if I wanted to say, okay, I'm going to ride hard on a certain issue, I could just say, okay, well, listen, you don't care nothing about me. That's an issue. That's a social issue. Just like the Republicans say that there's an issue with abortion. So what I'm saying is we got to balance this whole thing out. We can't just stop right there. The other thing is that was a concern for the Democrats was the coronavirus. And it seems like Trump and that party they didn't pay no attention. But I tell you what the church did do. The church shut down, and the church wore a mask. They did that part. So it was like the church was afraid of the virus, or they respected the virus, but yet at the same time, they wouldn't confront Trump, because now Trump is your boy, but you won't tell him that, dude, You ain't going to win this election with that type of behavior. Put a mask on. Support what the other part that God is doing. Yeah, is God concerned about Israel? Is God maybe raising you up to do this part? Yes, he is. But God is also allowing this pandemic. So get on board with that as well. So the Democrats, they embrace that part. That's a concern. The other concern was the health care for all. Democratic concern and the job loss. And it seems like those 5 things were very pronounced as it relates to the Democratic Party. And I think this is where the knife kind of went right down the middle of this between the two, which people made their decisions based upon that. Okay. Now, the other thing I'm going to say is Donald would not listen to no one. Now, that's what I heard publicly. I don't know if behind closed doors, and then I didn't know everything, but he would not listen to nobody. So this is your Cyrus. And if y'all sitting back saying, well, Trump should have won, and I just got a text a few minutes ago that said that it was bogus, and this is from black folks. And that's not to say that white folks is either or. I'm just trying to show you that when you get it from black folks, then that's saying something. But they're saying that it was rigged and so on and so forth. But so on and so forth. But what you ain't saying is what the person that you rallied behind, the foolishness that he displayed, that he helped take himself out. You put some of the onus on him. Okay, now again, this ain't for me black or white. It's not binary for me. It is a mixture for me. I'm not supporting the Democrat. I'm not supporting the Republican. I'm with God. But I'm saying that even being with God, you have to understand there's more to it than maybe we missed something. Maybe we just missed something. So God just ain't going to put Cyrus up there in the person of Trump, carte blanche, and then you just run Rashad like you can do what you want to do. The devil is a lie. You can't just do what you want to do because God is lifting you up. And in the scripture and in Isaiah 44:45, it talks about, and you didn't even know me, and Cyrus didn't even want to know God. And God favored him. And God brought down kingdoms and kings and stuff. And he used Cyrus to do that. And perhaps he was going to use Trump to do it. And he may still be wanting to use Trump to do it. And we don't know what the final outcome is this. We know that at this point it looks very grim for Trump, but we don't know. So I'm not saying nothing at this point. I'm saying that this is what is being reported, but I don't know if that's going to finish out the deal. The next point is reliable prophetic voices. I believe that we had reliable prophetic voices because they can say what they want to say now that, a lot of the prophetic voices going to have an excuse. No, you called it and you missed it. Say that you missed it. Or, just say, listen, I see in part, whatever it is. It's okay. It's okay that we miss it. We ain't got to be perfect. And when I say that, I'm talking about the evangelicals and all the supporters, because y'all got your train. And when I say y'all, that's me included. You try to get everybody to follow behind, and you were off a little bit. And I'm not saying that you are not a prophet. I'm not saying that the church is not on. I'm not saying none of that. I'm just saying that, you ain't God. So it's okay that if you miss it, or it looks like you missed it anyway. I don't know because it ain't over with. So, but it looks like at this point that there's a possibility that you missed it. Why has God become so elusive as it relates to missing it? Does that mean that God is giving a word today and he's changing it tomorrow? Giving a word tomorrow, he's changing it the next day. And that is a trait of God, because God speaks. God is speaking. That's in the present. That means that what he said yesterday, he's going to say more about it. If he's not speaking about it, he's doing something about it. And even in doing something about it, that means that he's speaking about it, and he shall speak. So we understand that it's a moving target with God's voice, with God's hand. We understand that part. And I'm just saying that, there's a possibility that we got to a certain point and God, he did the math too. And he looked at behavior and characteristics, and he's looking at all that. God ain't troubled by Israel and bringing Israel out and the peace treaty getting signed and all. He ain't troubled about all this. I do believe, though, that when we put both all these issues and relationship in the balance, what I feel that God is speaking, what he's speaking now, as opposed to what he spoke yesterday, was that I am concerned about relationship. There's issues. Is abortion an issue? Yes, it is. All these other socialism, idolatry, are those issues? Inclusion, are those issues? Yes, they are. The Muslim faith and all that stuff, that's real. And that is a real problem. But at the same time, in America, if America is going to be the wings that Israel ride upon, then the people got to be together. There can't be division. And our president, as it is right now, Donald Trump, he was a divider. He was not a relationship person. He didn't care about people. And that's what I mean by, at heart, I'm a Democrat. Because I do believe that the Democratic Party overall, where they messed up, they care about people. But at the head, I like the Republican Party. I am a Republican at head. I'm a businessman. Okay, so I get all that. The last thing that I want to say is Kamala Harris, yikes. I pray, and they said if you can't say nothing good about somebody, don't say nothing at all. I pray that don't nothing happen to Biden if Biden gets in there for the next 4 years. I believe it's only going to be 4 years, however you look at it. But I'll be doggone if Kamala Harris gets an opportunity to run the country. You talking about somebody scared and gonna run for the hills? I'm gonna be the first one to put my finger up. Okay, because that's all I'm gonna say about that. God is still in control, and we will see what he says about the final word. Israel, all that. All I'm saying is don't worry about it. It's God got it. God got it. He's going to work it all out. Y'all can read the story of Cyrus in Isaiah 44, just some of it, scriptures 44 and 45, predominantly 45, 1 through 7, 1 through 8. There's some good stuff in there. Anyway, that's my little take on this, and y'all can shoot me down, whatever it is. Again, I'm not taking no sides with nobody. I'm just saying that, don't get mad now, because the church had an opportunity. The church had an opportunity. And the Democratic Party, they snuck it out from up under you. But Trump, you did it to yourself. And you could have did that differently. You could have did that differently, and I believe that we would have got a different outcome. But you chose not to do it differently. You chose to do it your way because you got beside yourself with your crazy self. And this is where we at right now. So did our boy Trump, did he cost the country? And did he cost the spiritualism of the United States and where God wanted to take us? Did he attribute to the downfall of that? He most certainly did. Or did he attribute to the delay? Now God got to do a revision and go around that. And the last thing I'm going to say is, can he use Biden? Yeah, he can. He can use Biden. He can change this socialistic socialism outlook that Biden has and Harris has of being all inclusion. They can redefine that. They can restructure that. He can be the one to go over there and sign with the peace treaty. You got to wrap the voices around him so that he can hear, he can understand. I tell you this, Trump was not a Christian. He didn't act like a Christian man. So he didn't understand the urgency of what he was doing, what he was signing. I don't believe he did. I do believe that there was people that was around him, but I believe that Trump was dead to spiritual things. And so they didn't quite get it into his heart. So he didn't complete his assignment. And the last thing I'm going to say, I keep saying last thing is, and I haven't went into this, and that's why I'm not going to discuss it. But look at what the assignment of Cyrus was and what God told him to do and what he told him not to do. And then see what it was that he did, that Trump did, as opposed to the things that he ain't doing or that he wouldn't do, and the behavior that he exhibited in his end or in his demise. And let's kind of piece that together and see where we go from there. All right, y'all, listen, be blessed. I'll be on tomorrow. I want you to listen. We're still in the vision series, and it's rolling. It's rolling. You have to listen to this vision series. I promise you, it is getting, this is not grammatically correct. It is getting gooder and gooder and gooder. Be blessed, y'all. Love you. See you soon.